So hello everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this Go Games information webinar. We hope that over the course of this webinar, you will gain a further understanding of the Go Games policy across all associations, specifically in ladies Gaelic football, and that you will have a more broader overview of the changes and the relaunch that have taken place over the last number of months and how it's going to affect our coaches, our volunteers, but more importantly, our players, and how the policy has evolved over the last number of years and how we are trying to meet the needs of our largest cohort of players. So hopefully over this webinar, we'll gain that greater understanding. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat at the end. Clodagh is going to be monitoring the chat. So by way of introduction, my name is Vinny Whelan. I am the Head of Growth and Participation in the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. And I'm delighted to be joined on this webinar by my colleague, Clodagh Flanagan. Clodagh is the National Development Officer with a remit for growth and participation as well. So hopefully between the two of us over the course of this webinar, we'll be able to answer all of your queries and give you a wider understanding of the Gaelic Games Go Games policy.
So what are Gaelic Games for children? Go Games are Gaelic Games where every child gets to play. It's where children lead the way. And with pitches and equipment modified to meet their needs, children will develop at their own pace and enjoy themselves along the way. So get your boys and girls involved now. With Go Games, every child gets a chance.
So hopefully that short video has given you a bit of a taste for what Gaelic Games Go Games are all about and the relaunch that took place in 2023. As you heard the legendary Micheál Murray there describing every child gets a go. Safe, supporting, stimulating environments, modified games to meet the needs of all of our children, and that it's child-centered. And that's really what we wanted to focus on in the relaunch of Go Games and the reassessment of the current existing policy and program that existed. So hopefully, as I said, as we go on, that has given you a bit of a flavor as to what the new Go Games policy entails and how our games are going to look on the actual pitch inside those four white lines. So what was the purpose of the Gaelic Games Go Games relaunch? So number one was to refocus on child-centered inclusive activities for our largest playing cohort. So for anybody who doesn't know, this is our largest playing cohort across all Gaelic games. So it is to also reiterate our commitment to developing a fun and learning environment for under 7s to under 12 members. So it's important that in the club environment, that when we are conducting Go Games, either be it a training session or a blitz, that it is conducted in a learning environment that is led by fun, and that fun is at the center of everything that we do, and that we understand that it's not for me as the coach, it's for our particular players and our participants. Okay, so that we understand that this environment has to be created to create, we have to harness fun, and we have to harness that learning environment in the club environment also. To reimagine playing rules, to innovate and enhance the playing experiences and development of all. So it's the playing experiences, what the players are feeling when they go out on that pitch. How does this feel to them? We have to enhance that playing experience by new innovative rules. So there was nothing really wrong with the rules that were there. However, we tried to enhance that, take the model that was already there and enhance it even further. And realignment, we had to realign with the new Gaelic Games player pathway that was launched last year. So this new Go Games policy, this new Go Games program will align with the F2 stage of this Gaelic Games player pathway. So the two programs were being developed synchronously. So at the same time as the Gaelic Games player pathway was being developed, Go Games were also being developed to complement the F2 stage. So what are Gaelic Games Go Games? Gaelic Games Go Games refers to the games development pathway that is aligned to the Gaelic Games player pathway foundation F2 stage. Emphasis during this phase is on further developing functional movement skills and the early acquisition of specific skills of Gaelic games. So, functional movement skills, early acquisition of specific skills of Gaelic games take place here. It's a step on and a phase on from the F1 stage, which is the nursery, which I'll speak about a little bit later on. Okay, so it's aligned to the Gaelic Games player pathway, which is a huge aspect of what we were trying to achieve. That this just wasn't a program or a policy that was going to sit on its own, that it's actually aligned to the centralized Gaelic Games player path. So in defining Go games, so the definition of them, Go games are modified small-sided versions of hurling, camogie, Gaelic football, and ladies Gaelic football, which have been devised to cater for the development needs of children aged 7 up to and including 12 years of age. Go games can be played in a club, school, and or community setting to introduce children to Gaelic games. They allow children to have fun, grow, and learn physically, socially, and psychologically, and develop key attributes for life. Go games are inclusive, structured to cater for the needs, abilities, and backgrounds of all participants. It's an inclusive program. It doesn't matter what the ability levels or the experience levels of any participant are. That these games are devised and the rules around them devised and the ethos around it are devised to be inclusive. So every child will get a go. Every child will feel how Gaelic games are to play. Every child will feel part of something, that there's nobody left on sidelines anymore, that they will develop at their own rate, their own speed, but us as coaches and as club administrators are hopefully giving them the tools to be able to develop. So that is the definition of Go games. All of these definitions are contained in the policy. So if you go to ladiesgaelic.ie or any of our partner associations, camogie.ie or the GAA's website, you will also find these definitions in the policy contained in all of our Go Games dedicated pages that are almost identical across the three associations' websites. So what is new? So we've spoken about a refocus, a realignment, and innovation. So what exactly have we done? How have we enhanced this policy and this program? So it's a common policy across all associations. So I've been lucky enough over the last 3 years when this policy development commenced and this review commenced back in 2020 to be able to collaborate with our partner associations in the Camogie Association and the GAA. We currently have a fantastic working group consisting of Seamus Kenny, Kieran Carney, Emma Byrne, and then from the Camogie side, we have James Heffernan and Sean Fox, and then obviously representing the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. I sit on that working group with my colleague Clodagh, who's also on the call here. So the collaboration across all associations was key here, and ensuring that the needs of each association were met and that there was a consensus that we were all going to implement the same policy across all three Gaelic Games associations. It's key in understanding exactly what we were trying to achieve. Innovative additions to playing rules and numbers. So we'll speak about that a little bit later on when we actually go through each different set of playing rules for each different age group. There's a gradual evolution of the rules from under 7s up to under 12s, and we'll speak about that as we go through those later on in the webinar. Introduction of blitz format as standard, so everything must now be in a blitz format. We'll speak about those definitions later on in the webinar also. And self-paced educational opportunities. So the self-paced module that we will address later on has been developed to meet the needs of our coaches and our administrators. So this is a huge addition, and as I said, we will speak about that further into the webinar. Self-paced referee module, which will also be a huge addition in terms of injecting a new bank of referees into the club environment where they can go and experience refereeing Go games for themselves. They can do that from the comfort of their own home. And an activity approval system, which we will walk through in a step-by-step guide later on to ensure that you who are watching this webinar and engaging with this webinar feel that you are comfortable with being able to apply for an activity that's outside of the planned county games program. So as I mentioned, it's a cross-associational approach. Go Games is national policy of the GAA, the Camogie Association, and Ladies Gaelic Football Association, and their constituent units at provincial, county, club, and educational level, responsible for the organisation and delivery of Go Games. So it's cross-association. It's the exact same policy in the Ladies Gaelic Football Association as there is in the Gaelic Athletic Association, as there is in the Camogie Association. So we are all, I suppose, singing from the one hymn sheet. And we are all implementing the same programs of games across the country. Each unit must be aware of and comply with the provisions of this policy. So if you're watching this and you were a club or an administrator at either, if you're a coach or an administrator at club level, or if you're an administrator at county level, you should really familiarise yourselves with this policy. And use it as a reference point and have it somewhere that's easily accessible for all of your members. All units and members participating in Go Games are bound by the official rules of the association. So Go Games policy is the official rule of all three associations, and all units are bound by those rules. So again, to bear that in mind when planning our events and planning our Go Games programs, that you are bound by the policies of the three associations. So what is the policy purpose? The purpose of this policy is to deliver a structured, standardized and unified approach to the development of our young players across all three associations. We want Go Games to provide children with an appropriate introduction to competition on a phased basis. The game itself provides a sufficient skill development challenge for children. Above all, this policy is in line with the Gaelic Games player pathway and its 6 key underlying principles. Those key underlying principles are: club is core, it's player-centred, quality coaching experiences and delivering those for our youngest players and all players, connection, it's inclusive, as many as possible for as long as possible. Again, if you have any questions regarding this, type them in the chat. Claudia is monitoring the chat as we go. So the principles and organisation of Go Games. So we look at the points here. All participants play in the game, i.e. everyone has a go. This means everybody active always. Nobody standing on sidelines. As coaches, as adults, we should be able to look at a situation where maybe there's uneven numbers and work that out with the visiting team or the hosting team or the team that you're playing against, and to ensure that everybody is on the pitch at all times. And we'll speak about that a little bit more later on in terms of how numbers are fluid throughout the different age groups. We've now introduced minimum and maximum to combat such situations. Games are small-sided. So again, every study that has been done on small-sided games in comparison to larger numbers playing games showed that participants will get more touches in the ball, with aids with their skill development, their levels of enjoyment, their levels of self-satisfaction. Further information is available on that in one of our modules on the online workshop, which I'll address a little bit later on. And all of the resources are also available on every study that was done, I suppose, since the inception of Go Games, particularly that of Mickey Whelan. That is referenced heavily within the workshop up on Tubber. But as I said, I'll speak about that a little bit later on. Modified playing rules. Again, we're looking at skill development. We're looking at focusing on catering to the needs of those younger children. There will be nothing more dissatisfying than seeing a bunch of under 7s or 8s playing on a full-size pitch with full-size goals using a size 4 football. It's not what you want to see. So smaller-sided, modified playing rules to help with skill development and to ensure that everybody gets the ball, gets time on the ball, and gets room to develop and to execute those skills in a satisfactory fashion. Participant needs are catered for at under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, under 11s, and under 12s. So that is the framework within which Go Games are operating. Under 7s to under 12s. The under 6 age grade or below is not permitted. So if your county board has been employing an under-6 Go Games program, or if your club is involved in organising under-6 activities, this needs to cease immediately. So under-6 age grade is not permitted. The reasons for which I'll speak about a little bit later on. Teams and clubs should endeavour to play the minimum numbers recommended. That would be under 7s 4v4, under 8s 5v5, under 9s 5v5, under 10s 6v6, under 11s 6v6. We just spoke about that in the last couple of points. More touches of the ball and better skill developed. So, take a quick drink if you don't mind. And switch on my power from my laptop. I hope nobody logged off while I was doing that, taking a little quick break. So get back to our points. Participants may play up 2 Go Games age grades. So to be clear on this, under 7s may play at their own age grade, plus under 8 or under 9 level. Okay, and this follows on throughout Go Games, insofar as under 8s may play at their own age grade, plus under 9 or under 10. Okay, and that follows all the way up. So they may play up 2 Go Games age grades. What we do not want to see is an under 7 being asked to play up at under 11 or under 12. It's not permitted within the Go Games policy. In clubs and primary schools up to under 11, no league or championship competition shall be organised. So everything is in a one-off blitz format where everybody goes home having enjoyed playing their sports without that pressure of having to win, without that noise, as I always call it, coming from the sidelines. What we want is positive reinforcement for our participants, and we want our participants to be able to enjoy their playing experience. After that, we get to under 13. Their playing career could be 20, 30 years long. They'll get plenty of competition. This is about developing our players. This is about equipping them with the skills to be able to have those competitions in years to come. But in this particular framework of under 7s, particularly to under 11s, there are no leagues, championships, or tournaments permitted. At under 12 age grade, which I will address in detail throughout this webinar, leagues are permitted, but we will speak about that a little bit later on. No provision is made to publish scores. No scores should be kept or utilised in any way. No provision is made to present trophies, cups, etc. Clubs and primary school blitzes shall be organised subject to association rule. No provision is made for the organisation of club or primary school Go Games blitzes with formats that include knockout games, i.e. round 2, quarterfinals, semi-finals. In under 12, which is the outlier, which is why I have finals, etc. down the bottom, under 12s, you are allowed to play a league final or a finals festival day. But again, we'll address that later on. But up to under 12, there are no leagues, no championships, no cups, and no knockout rounds and anything. Okay, it's just turn up, let the kids play, let everybody enjoy themselves on a Saturday or Sunday morning, or maybe your midweek blitz. So, what are the general guidelines? Children at 7 years of age or younger are still in the process of developing the fundamental movement skills required to support early acquisition of specific skills of Gaelic games. It is therefore recommended that children aged 7 and younger are introduced slowly to Go Games with their continued participation in the club nursery or the F1 stage of the Gaelic Games player pathway, which I've heavily referenced throughout preferred. So what this means is, and I suppose in some of the feedback that we got from one of the many studies that we did throughout the construction of and review of this new policy, is we spoke about a lot of anecdotal evidence that we found. We found that 4-year-olds were being brought out of the nursery program to come up to fill teams, which is not appropriate for them. They're not at that particular development stage. The Gaelic Games player pathway was developed by experts in the field. Therefore, we must trust that F1, which is the nursery stage, that the evidence provides us with the indication that those players should remain in the F1 stage. They are not prepared for Go Games. Okay. So once they have completed their nursery program, they then step into the Go Games program. Okay. So Go Games explicitly commences at under 7 age grade, where participants permitted to play at two-year cohorts. So this again goes back to my reference to under 6, and we'll speak about that again also during the next point. Children whose 6th birthday is on or after January 1st can play at under 7 age grade in that calendar year only. They cannot play under 8 because they're not in the Go Games framework of age groups yet. Okay, so and this is where under 6s comes back in again. Under 6 is explicitly in the F1 stage of the Gaelic Games player pathway. It is not in F2 where Go Games lives. So they should remain in the F1 stage. Okay. Again, that's heavily referenced throughout the policy, and breaches of that will be referred by ourselves to CODA and by the other Gaelic Games associations to their disciplinary procedures. So what we do get, and what we have gotten since the policy launch, has been a lot of queries about the under 12 age grade, as it does sit slightly different to the other Go Games age grades. So hopefully I'm going to allay those fears throughout this slide and maybe over the next couple of slides. So at the under 12 age grade, only children whose 10th, 11th or 12th birthday is on or after January 1st can play at the under 12 age grade in that calendar year. So this would exclude any 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds. This must be age specific, and we must adhere to the policy with respect to that. A 9-year-old could not have or would not be equipped to play at the under 12 age grade. They must play at their own age grade. Under 12 age grade is organised on a league and blitz basis. No knockout rounds are permitted as part of the under 12 league program. I'll show you an example of that later on. So this is where it does differ slightly from under 7 to under 11, that under 12s do have that slight bit of competition, which, as I referenced, is the graduated process and steps towards competition in the following years, under 13 onwards. So we are gradually introducing slight competition at this age grade. So Go Games should not be used as grading for any older age grades. There's plenty of time for that from under 13s upwards. And 1v1 games are permitted in this age grade only. So 1v1 games are not permitted under 7 to under 11, but at under 12, they are permitted and they are granted permission. Okay. Again, any questions, just type them in the chat. Claude is monitoring the chat there and we'll get to them at the end. So, events definitions. A blitz or a festival must include a minimum of 3 clubs or multiple teams from 2 clubs. Following on from that, a blitz is defined as an event containing no less than 4 teams, with each team playing no less than 3 games per event. So, if we combine those 2 points, essentially what we are saying is this, that there must be 4 teams. However, there can be 3 clubs, because one of those clubs could potentially have 2 teams. And what happens then is we bring in another 2 clubs who have 1 team each. That would constitute 4 teams, which is allowed per Go Games policy. What's also allowed is 2 clubs who have multiple teams. So 2 clubs who have 2 versus 2, or 3 versus 3, or 4 versus 4, depending on the size of the club. There are only certain parts of the country where we will get clubs that size. However, it's about matching a club of that size with the same number or matching number of clubs of different sizes. But the main key point to remember here is that 4 teams made up of no less than 3 clubs can take part in a blitz. So there are no more 1v1s permitted. If a 1v1 is applied for to the activity approval form, it will not be approved. Okay, so either 3 clubs with 4 teams, and it's okay for one club's two teams to play against each other. So it could be Whitehall Columkill Red versus Whitehall Columkill White. They could play against each other. There's no problem there, but they will also play the other two teams that are involved in the Blitz also. So 4 teams. There are no knockout rounds, for example, semi-finals or finals or quarterfinals for that matter, in any type of Go games. There are no cups or trophies to be presented to any teams playing Go games, including tournaments or commemorative events. Where prizes, for example, medal certificates, etc., are being given out, every child participating should receive the same. Okay, so it's an inclusive program. If one gets, they all get. Okay. So sample club blitz, what this might look like. And the reason that we include this, because we want people to have a visual of what the new policy brings in terms of blitz formats. So in this particular blitz format, we have at least 4 teams, a minimum of 3 clubs or multiple teams from 2 clubs. So if we look at this, we have 4 clubs with 1 team each. It's a fairly straightforward blitz where everybody plays everybody once. Okay, so club 1, club 2, club 3, and club 4, and we're all playing in a blitz together. 4 clubs, similar size, 1 team each. Everybody plays everybody in a blitz festival format. We're eliminating the 1v1. There's no, we're standing at this sideline, you're standing this sideline, and all of a sudden the atmosphere becomes a championship atmosphere. This is a rotational basis. They will all play each other. So the second sample club blitz format is where we have club 1 who has 2 teams, club 2 have 1 team, and club 3 have 1 team. So this was similar to what I addressed 2 slides ago. So club 1 have 2 teams, and they will then play in a blitz format versus the 2 other clubs, but they will also play their own team. So they will play each other. It's a mix and match. And this could be changed up every week to give the kids a new experience. An experience of playing against their own teammates, and to understand that they're there to play, not to win. They're there to play. And that can be reinforced by playing against their own teammates and their own clubmates, because they're there to enjoy themselves, to try and develop, and to be the best that they can be, not the best that their manager thinks they should be by beating club team 2 or club team 3. So they're just 2 sample blitz formats that we can utilize when we're organizing our blitzes throughout the country. So to address something that has come up across Gaelic games with my Gaelic Games colleagues, and we've had a chat on this previously, is memorial events. And we understand that memorial events are hugely important to clubs, and I suppose it's a lot of it is what some Gaelic Games clubs are built on, the memory of past members and people who gave so much to their community in terms of club administration or coaching, or maybe it was a former player who's no longer with us. And we understand that, and that is absolutely to be respected. However, in looking at this, the question still remains: can blitzes still be organized as memorial events, for example? Yes, but not with a cup or trophy being presented, so there are no finals. So we're going to use an example here. This can be the Mary MacDonald Memorial Festival of Football, for example, rather than the Mary MacDonald Tournament. I want everybody to think about this. It's far more powerful if, and I'll read out the last point, but it's far more powerful if 200 kids go home from a memorial blitz with Mary MacDonald's name or face on a medal than one child bringing a cup home. That's a far more powerful way to remember Mary or whoever your event is named after. So think about it. Will more people remember Mary if one child takes home a cup, or if every child at the festival has a medal or a certificate, for example, with Mary's name? I think that's far more powerful. And I think that if I was remembering somebody in my family, I would want those, whatever, 50, 100, 200 kids going home with my person's name on their medal, rather than one cup circulating and you don't know what's happening to that cup throughout the year. So in terms of, it could just be stuck up on a shelf. At least if 200 kids are going home, they'll probably wear the medal to bed. It's a participatory feel. It's a festival and a way to celebrate somebody who's maybe no longer with us. So I spoke about this at the start, and we won't go through every single point because these resources and these new playing rules are all available on ladiesgaelic.ie, as they are on the Camogie website and the Gaelic Athletic Association's website, also on the dedicated Go Games pages. But there was a lot of work done in the early days of the review, specifically by a lot of people who were on the initial Go Games working group, which was a group of about 20 people. Too many probably to mention, but specifically Stuart Reid, who was working for the Camogie Association at the time, and Donald Doyle, who is still with Dublin GAA. And Donald and Stuart did a massive amount of work as part of one of the focus groups around the rules, and how they could be enhanced to maximise the playing experience of all of our players across Gaelic games. So we looked at big ball and small ball. We looked at what was being done in terms of international best practice. There was so much thinking outside the box that went on. There was underage from Auskick was looked at, underage from Rugby League was looked at, shinty, lacrosse, soccer, Rugby League, Rugby Union, you name it, and it was looked at. And how could some of these rules be transferred across to help our players maximise their development, maximise their fun, maximise their learning. So there were certain tweaks to the rules, but we still wanted to maintain that initial Go Games framework of rules, because it wasn't broken. We just felt that it just needed to be enhanced. So if we look at, again, I spoke earlier on about team sizes. At under 7, which is now the new starting age grade for Go Games, the minimum that you are permitted to have is 4v4, and the maximum that you're permitted to have is 7v7. I think that's hugely innovative. If I'm a coach and I'm saying, are my players going to get more touches of the ball with 7v7 or 4v4? So, and all the studies point to your players developing quicker with the 4v4 game. So again, and I always look at county boards or whoever's organising blitzes, and the trend seems to be that they will always go with the maximum rather than the minimum. And I'm just wondering who is going to be the brave, either county board or administrators, to say, you know what, we're going to embrace the maximum, and that's going to be our ethos going forward. So again, just to reiterate, substitutes, so there are none. It's equal playing time for all. So it's unlimited playing time, everybody on the pitch always. In under 7s, there are zones, so 2 zones split across the pitch halfway. The pitch size is relative and relevant to the playing numbers. So 45 meters by 30. And again, that can be modified to suit your playing numbers. We did toy with the idea of potentially having a guide for if you go 5v5 or 6v6, but you'd be there. It'd be a fairly vast array of different pitch sizes if you were to do for every single age group. Common sense and whatever facilities that you have at your disposal are probably going to influence the size of your pitch. So common sense and using the guide there also as your guide to be able to line your pitches. Training poles 3 meters apart are your goal size. So being cognizant, and again, there was so much discussion, and we saw it online, that there was a lot of discussion about, they do such and such in Man United, they do such and such in La Masia in Barcelona. Here's what they're doing underage in professional setups. In putting together this policy and putting together these playing rules, we were very, very aware and cognizant that Gaelic games take place in a voluntary setting, with sometimes limited resources, with clubs who may not be able to afford actual goals, with clubs who are so big that they haven't got the space to be able to dedicate to certain formats that people were looking at online. And a lot of the commentators were people who maybe come from professional setups, and they were looking at Gaelic games saying, you should be doing this. But again, as I said, we need to reflect and we need to see what's going on in a voluntary setting. What can be achieved in a voluntary setting without putting too much pressure on our volunteers, on our pitch space, and on our finances also. So we're very, very aware of that. It wasn't that we ignored anything that was being said. But Gaelic games are unique insofar as there isn't any professional setup. This has all been done by volunteers, and they have to give their time. Again, are there enough referees? Somebody call for 2v2 at all age groups, and that's fine if you want to do that in training. However, how do you have that amount of referees to be able to police that on a weeknight or a Saturday or Sunday morning? You absolutely can't. So straight away, that was some of the stuff that we had to look at. So again, all of these rules, I suppose, just to kind of digress slightly, when we were looking at all these rules, all of this stuff came into play. It wasn't as if we just sat down in a room and started making up rules. We looked at every single aspect that we could. So there you have your hurling and camogie in play rules, but you also have your football in play rules, your ball size. A lot of people don't know what particular ball they should be using. But again, an innovative rule that we have implemented is that you're only allowed 1v1 tackling in ladies Gaelic football, and the player on the ball at under 7. Bear in mind, this is a 6-year-old, okay, or a 7-year-old in that calendar year, that may have never played in a structured match before. So we are allowing them 8 seconds on the ball with a bounce or 8 steps. Let them feel what it feels like to have a ball in their hand and to maybe attempt a kick or attempt a hand pass to one of their teammates. So just allow that 1v1. There's nothing worse than watching a game on a pitch and there's 5 or 6 kids crowded around the one child who's holding the ball tight, and they're not going anywhere, and they're just holding, and they're all in and they're all trying to get the ball off them. This is where we've introduced the 1v1 tackling and the ability for them to use that ball within 8 steps or 8 seconds. The duration is 10-minute blocks up to 40 minutes. And again, innovative restarts. So the sideline free from halfway to the team that concedes the score. So in the old playing rules, that was a throw in from the halfway line, which usually resulted in the same passage of play that had just resulted in the score. So what we're doing is we're not penalising the team who've conceded. We're actually giving them an advantage, and then we let the game flow from there. So it's a sideline free from halfway to the team that concedes the score. And again, puck or kickouts are from the hand on a wide ball. So again, some really innovative rules that are not a massive deviation away from what currently or what previously existed. However, they are going to change the way our games are played and hopefully aid in player development. So again, look, I'll go through these and hopefully show you a graduated process towards a more fuller version of the game as we go up through the age grade. So the evolution of the game from under 7s up to under 12s. So under 8s, we have our playing rules there. So the minimum numbers and the maximum numbers both go up, and also the pitch size goes up. So again, we're moving towards that full game format in a very, very slight way. Training poles or portable goals now were available. So if they're not available, you can still use your training poles. Your ball size changes here, so you move to quick touch. And the 8 seconds then and 1v1 tackling disappears. So in football, in play rules, you have your 1 hop, 1 solo. So it's the standard as per existing association rules. The restarts on the sideline remains, as do all other rules that were in situ. Under 9 is the very same, but your minimum and your minimum stays the same, but your maximum goes up. Okay, pitch size goes up also, and again, these are all available on all of our websites. So make sure you have a look. So look again, restarts. So the restart is the puck out or kick out from the hand. So again, that has been modified from the 2 previous age groups, a gradual move towards fuller versions of all of Gaelic games. Again, 6v6, 10v10, that moves up again. Under 11, fairly similar rules to under 10s. And then under 12s is a slight jump here. As I said, it is a bit of a deviation from the rest of Go games insofar as there's you're moving towards a more of a slightly competitive environment where leagues are being employed. So it's minimum 8v8, maximum 13v13. And again, all the other playing rules are there. And we have introduced that you can use size 4s there, but you do have the option of using the smart touch football also. Again, just to pay attention to the football in play rules, there are 2 touches of the ball permitted. So top and solo or solo and solo. Obviously, 2 bounces are not permitted. Additional rules can be modified to meet local needs if that's in a fun blitz format. Obviously, league rules are agreed by the county board prior, but if you are hosting a fun blitz, you can modify the rules to meet your own local needs. So, under 12 leagues. We discussed that, and I suppose it's a nice way to follow on from the last slide where the under 12 rules are addressed. Under 12 league, what could it look like? So essentially, this is a sample of a 6-team league played over 5 weeks, and where everybody gets to play each other. You can see the fixtures there on the left. They run over 5 weeks. The 5 weeks don't have to be the same. There could be a week in between each one, which would be played over 10 weeks. Again, as referenced in the policy, no scores published. So if you are going with winners, losers, or a draw in between, it's a simple mechanism of W for a win, D for a draw, L for a loss. No scores published. We do not want to embarrass any clubs. We have seen that in the past online. Such and such beat somebody 14 goals, 19 points to 1 point. We have actually seen that. We've contacted clubs to say we must remove that immediately. It does happen at the older age groups, and it is permitted at the older age group, but within the under 12 framework, because it's not win, loss, or draw or anything of that nature, is not permitted under 7 to under 11, but specifically at under 12, which is inside goal games, win, loss, or draw will do. Because there's no grading, we could have 2 teams of mixed abilities playing against each other. It's of no benefit to anybody posting those scores up. There you have a sample table on the bottom, and so the teams are in different colors. So the top 2 who won 5 and 4 of their games, the next 2 are in green, and the next 2 are in blue. So the option there is for a finals festival day. So to win the league, first will play second. To win the next category down, third will play fourth, and the next category down, fifth to play sixth. There's no relegation and no promotion in number 12. Okay, so everybody will be involved in a finals festival day. Everybody goes home with a medal, but cups are permitted for the winners of the leagues. So if you are hosting a blitz or a festival event outside of the county games program, so outside the county games program, here is the process involved, okay? And it's a fairly transparent process, and it ensures that everybody has clarity around permission being given. So it deviates slightly from the previous mechanism that was employed, and I'm hoping over the next couple of slides will give real clarity to the process involved. So the host club application is submitted. That will come straight into the national development team. The national development team will review this application. So it's an online form. As soon as submit is hit, as soon as submit is hit, it comes straight to one of the members of the national development team, whoever is designated with looking after that particular strand of approvals. So once it's reviewed, if it's rejected, a rejection will be sent back, and a reason for that rejection will be sent back. Why might an event be rejected? If there is a 1v1, if there is 2 clubs participating, they have multiple teams, but the fixtures that are submitted indicate to us that what's going to happen is Club A or Club 1 A team is going to play against Club 2 A team. Club 1 B team is going to play against Club 2 B team. That's 2 single games. That's not a blitz format. And we have received some of those, and we've rejected them. Well, what we will also reject games for is if they're not in a clear blitz format, okay? With multiple teams, so if it's 3 single teams, that won't be approved either, okay? And the other thing which I will address, and maybe in the next slide, is it not coming from an appropriate source, the application not coming from an appropriate source. If it is approved, and here's where the clarity comes, okay? So if it is approved, an automatic PDF of approval is generated by the system. That approval is sent to the county board, and it is also sent to the hosting club who have applied. The hosting club who've applied then must send that approval to all of the listed visiting teams. Okay, so at this point, LGFA National are aware that this has been approved. The host club are aware that it's been approved. The county board are aware that it has been approved, and the visiting teams are aware that the event has been approved. Clarity for everybody. Everybody understands that it has been approved. Now, the only way that might not happen is if the county board see a reason for the event not to take place. Why might that happen? Because it might be applied for on a week that there is a structured county games program, games scheduled to take place, and this cannot be in direct taking place at the exact same time. That's one of the only reasons why that might happen. Okay, but otherwise it's a clear process. Everybody has seen this approval PDF. Everybody's happy with the event going ahead. Everybody is aware that it's in the blitz format, that the Go Games ethos is being adhered to, Go Games rule is being understood and adhered to also, and everybody enjoys their event. So the application form is an online application form. Was developed by our colleagues in the GAA. So it's very, very simple. We are encountering a couple of issues with it. Issue number one is on question 1. To be sure that you are clicking ladies Gaelic football if that is your desired code. Okay. I get a good few reassignments from my colleagues in the GAA because if you click Gaelic football or hurling, that's who it will go to. So what we've seen is some LGFA administrators in clubs are clicking Gaelic football rather than ladies Gaelic football. It will automatically go to the GAA. It will not come to me. If you click ladies Gaelic football, it comes to the LGFA. Okay, so just to be sure that that's the one you are clicking in under question 1, get your code right. Okay, so again, the rest of it is self-explanatory. However, if we look at question 6, it must be applied for through a official Gaelic Games email address. This is to ensure that the club has clarity and understanding that a Go Games event is going to be taking place in their club. So it's not just a random parent or a random coach or somebody in the club that says, right, let's just have a giant blitz, or even let's have a tournament, an under 10 tournament, and the club is not aware of it. And then we contact the club about a breach of Go Games policy, and the club says, well, we weren't aware of this. So that's why we will reject any applications that come in that do not come from an official Gaelic Games account. So once that application comes in, we review that. And as I stated in the last slide, that's the process around either approval or rejection. Breaches of Go Games policy. So LGFA official guide rule 284. A breach of this rule will be referred to CODA for sanction. We've had a few of these already. So I'm hoping that this webinar and this session is the catalyst for a change, and we don't need to refer any more cases to code or contact any more code officers in relation to breaches of Go Games policy. It's fairly clear what can be done and what cannot be done. So huge innovations that we've looked at. So everything that we did across the board, and it's an absolute pleasure to work with the Go Games working group at the moment. The collaboration is just incredible, and to be able to work with like-minded people, all for the good of the playing experience and for the coaches and administrators experience, and how can we enhance this and give more information to people. And that's what it's all about. We need to get more information to people about Go Games and about their benefits and about how they can be organized. So in this, we devised the online educational workshop, which is on the TUBR, the New Gaelic Games Learning portal. And thanks to Dave Sweeney from the GAA, who has put in huge amount of work in developing these online resources for us. It's just going to be a sea change in terms of being able to educate coaches and administrators across the country and all codes of Gaelic Games about what Go Games are about. So you can see there what are Go Games. It's actually section 2 of what it looks like. So you have the introduction, you have what are Go Games. If you look at those tabs on the left-hand side, why Go Games? And that's what I spoke about a little bit earlier on, that all of that information about why Go Games, all the studies that were conducted, specifically maybe around Mickey Whelan studies in the first incarnation of Go Games. Why Go Games? Why are they in there? It's linked to the player pathway, which I addressed in the first few slides as well, that this is heavily linked. It's not even heavily linked, it's embedded in the player pathway. Go Games regulations and guidelines, which I've just touched on in the last few slides, how to organise a Go Games blitz. So again, giving information to coaches and administrators and organisers out there around the country, and Gaelic Games activity planner and other resources. So let's make this easy for coaches. How do you coach this Go Games cohort? So the Gaelic Games activity planner is on there as well. So a link to that. So you go on, there's just a whole host of activities that you can do. You can select which one you want to do depending on the theme of your session and what you want to achieve. So there's so much there also. So make sure that you do go on and direct people and signpost people towards this online educational workshop, and make sure that there's an awareness out there. And again, it probably prevents you as a coach or an administrator or a county secretary having to go and explain the Go Games policy to somebody, when you can literally just send them the link to Tubber and say it's on there. Just go and do it. And there's little quizzes throughout as well, and it's an absolute joy to do. I've actually done it a few times myself now just to make sure that I knew exactly what was up there. But it's a fantastic resource, and you should really be signposting everybody or any new coaches in your club that are maybe graduating from the nursery program. Here, go and have a look at this. This is what it's all about. This is why we play the small sided games. This is how you're going to organize your blitzes, and this is more importantly how you're going to coach your kids. Coming soon, Go Games online referee course, again on Tubber. And again, thanks to Dave Sweeney, the e-learning manager in the GA, for his work on this. And again, the kind of subgroup within the working group who have developed the refereeing end of things. And this is hopefully going to inject so many new referees into our clubs across the country. A referee module that is self-paced, that somebody can sit in their own home. They don't have to book a course anywhere, that they can go on and actually do this. This is coming soon, folks. It's very, very detailed, not in terms of, what you have to remember. It's very detailed in terms of making sure that a new referee's needs are met. And that's hugely important for us, ensuring that our new young referees who are going out to referee Go Games at weekends are equipped correctly, and that they have the resource and the reference points to go back to and have a look. So that's coming soon, and it's really, really exciting. So make sure that you keep your eye out across all of Gaelic Games social media over the coming weeks, and we are going to hopefully have the announcement of that coming soon. So that's going to be available on Tubber. If you haven't signed up to Tubber yet, folks, make sure that you get logged into that as well. Just this huge number of resources, and get yourself booked on courses also, so you are equipped to deliver Go Games within your club. Talk about examples of good practice. So what's happening in counties? And again, I've had a lot of dialogue with a lot of counties around the country since we relaunched the policy, and what way had they been doing their Go Games program, and what way are they structuring their county games program, and what did they have to modify? And two that really stood out at me, and two that I've had really good conversations with, that I won't name, but hopefully if they progress as they are, we might be able to do a case study on them at a later date. So I'm going to look at County A here. Okay, so County A organises their Go Games in a hub blitz format. Okay, so it's once a month. The county is split into regions, and it's clubs of mixed sizes. So if you're in Hub A, Hub B, Hub C, Hub D, it doesn't matter what size of a club you have. It doesn't matter how many numbers you have, because it's all in a blitz format. So you're designated your hub. Each club will get an opportunity to host throughout the year, and it's a big event. And say you have a club with 5 under 10 teams, they would play against a club maybe with 1, another club with 1, and maybe a club with 3. So it's about fitting those numbers together. And many teams have you got? Okay, so we've got this, you've got that. Let's create the blitz from those numbers. So it's almost self-governing. Fantastic to see that clubs are embracing this, that this county thought outside the box and said, let's create these hubs. And let's let the clubs themselves dictate how the blitz formats work. And that's again through dialogue with one another. And I've seen some of the correspondence that some of the hubs have. So each hub will have its own communication group or and they will all be texting into this communication group, and they'll be saying, okay, you're coming to us on Saturday or Sunday, and here's the format that I'm proposing, and they're all working together on this, and this is all overseen then by the county development committee. So it's absolutely fantastic to see, and that's one way of going about it. So County B, again, the topography and demographics and everything else are and road networks are completely different, and size of clubs are different, so they had to think a little bit differently. So County B, it takes clubs of similar size and groups them in that format. Okay, so you'd have a 3-team grouping, a 2-team grouping, and that's how they would be grouped together. So everything is in a blitz format. 1-team clubs being grouped together I meant to actually mention there in the previous point, this county mirrors the school calendar. So when school is in, we're in. And it creates an environment of teams and clubs playing every single week. A parent and a child knows, if I've got school this week, I've got go games the weekend. Simple as that. And it's a brilliant way of doing it. 1-team clubs are grouped together or integrated into 2 to 3-team groups to create a blitz scenario. So I actually had a lot of dialogue with this county over the last number of months. And so far, they did have 1-team groupings, but those 1 teams weren't having the same playing experiences as the 3-team clubs, because they were getting a blitz because they were playing clubs of similar size. But this county were so receptive to changes. They were saying, okay, well, what do you think we should do? And we worked together, and we had those conversations around that. And they understood that how this was going to enhance the playing experience for those 1-team clubs. They might be a smaller club, but why should they have a different playing experience than a club that happens to be 3 times the size of them? They shouldn't. So we just had to think about it slightly differently. So why not group a load of them together, or else group 2 or 3 of them together and enter them into a 3-team grouping, and they would rotate every week, so they wouldn't be grouped with the same teams every week. So they really thought outside the box and were really receptive to the changes to the policy. It wasn't a huge sea change to their 3-team groupings or their 2-team groupings. All that happens now is in this county, everything is in a blitz format. And that's hugely powerful, that they were able to look at that and say, do you know what? We're going to change. We're going to adapt to meet the policy to enhance the playing experience for all of our players. So that's the end of the informational part of it. I hope that I have given you enough of an overview and enough signposting to go and have a look at the resources that have been developed across the board, be that from the GA or the Camogie or ourselves and Ladies Gaelic Football. So in the chat function now, just over the next couple of minutes, what was the or OIC, it's quite cheesy, moment from this webinar? So I'll just give you 30 seconds there maybe, and I know we do have a very, very large audience on with us. So anything, any thoughts you might have, or if you have any questions, Clodagh has been monitoring the chat there throughout the session. So if there's anything that you feel you need to address or ask, or feel free to drop us an email as well, vincent.whelan@lgfa.ie, and I'd be happy to assist in that way, or to be able to signpost you to a place where learning might take place as well. Clodagh, is there anything that has come in there by way of suggestions or questions throughout the webinar?
Yep, thanks a million, Vinny, and well done. So the chat has been very busy since we began. I've got back to a good few questions throughout, but I've saved a couple. Just there was a lot of duplicates, and I think some of these may help anyone watching this back or on the call that may not just been brave enough to ask the question. So just, Vinny, if you could run through again the blitz with numbers of teams and clubs. We've one question here about, can 2 teams from one club come to play 1 team in my club? Okay,
that can't happen. So as we stated earlier on, it must be a minimum of 4 teams. So 3 teams, so 1 club with 2 teams, another with 1. That's going to leave 1 team sitting on the sideline for the rest of the blitz. Okay, so, and then when they go to play them, then they're going to be sitting on the sideline. We want everybody active always. So what we're looking at here is 3 clubs, but you must have 4 teams. So it could be 1 club with 2 teams, with then two single team clubs coming also. So 4 teams or 3 clubs, with one of those clubs having multiple teams, essentially. I hope that clears it up, Claudia.
Perfect. Thanks, Vinny. A second question, Vinny, is around playing up the age grades. So under 7 playing under 9 or under 10. If you just go through that again, because there's a few different scenarios came in here, especially around the playing under 12 as well. So could an under 9 play under 12, given it's 2 age grades up?
No, an under 9 can't. It must be somebody who their 10th, 11th, or 12th birthday is after the first, on or after the 1st of January. So they must be 10, 11, or 12 in that calendar year to be able to play Go game or under 12. Go games is specifically designed to ensure that people are playing in age appropriate brackets. As I said, the anecdotal evidence that we got around the country of 4-year-olds lining out in under 10 and 11 games, and like, I mean, I would have had those little bits of anecdotal evidence. Like, I mean, I was 14 years delivering Go games in the club settings around Dublin, and I would have seen certain clubs bringing out their whole nursery to play an under 10 game, and the children were not ready for it. They were standing there looking at the sky, pulling the grass out the ground, and they would have been far better served and developed in a nursery program. So everything that we have looked at has been age appropriate. There was so much qualitative and quantitative analysis done over the period of the initial review between 2020 and 2022, that's what was coming back from all of those studies. Of a whole massive folder on my computer of the work that was done by such a productive working group at the time. So it's age appropriate, and keeping them within specific age brackets is what we've targeted here, and it would be for the benefit of the participants, the girls themselves or the children themselves, that they are playing at an age appropriate age group.
Brilliant. Thanks, Vinny. And just a point on that note as well, if your club is currently operating at under 8, under 10, under 12, you don't need to change to mirror this. That's a guide for all ages. But if we've 1 or 2 comments here from smaller clubs that don't have the numbers to go at each age grade, that's no problem. We just give the age grades individually, but you don't have to change to mirror that.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. So you don't have to start your Go games at under 7. You can start your Go games at under 8, and then have an under 10 and 12. We wanted to specifically list the rules for each age grouping, because what we're noticing now, as numbers grow throughout the country, some counties with bigger numbers are employing under 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s. So we want to be more granular. We didn't want the same rules to apply for under 8s and under 10s. So that's why we differentiated, and we created under 9 rules and under 7 rules, under 11 rules in between also. So we wanted to have that graduated process and evolution towards full rules when they get out of the Go Games program. However, teams don't have to play at every age grade, but they must employ the particular rules for the age grades that they are playing.
Thanks, Vinny. So just to go through a few more points that I've had numerous questions for. In relation to the referee module, as Vinny said, this is coming very soon, and it's great to see such interest in this. But if you want to drop either myself or Vinny an email with your interest, or you will see it once it is formally launched, there'll be details of it everywhere. So great to see the interest in that. In terms of the application process, applying for blitzes is only outside of your county program. So if your county runs a program for Go Games, that's fine. You'll take part in that. You going for something that's outside of that, i.e. an end of year blitz or a memorial festival of football. In terms of the application, you still apply for the under 12 1v1 games. So they're the only age grade that is allowed 1v1, but they still go through that same application process. And for people asking, the application must be submitted 48 hours before the event, just to give us ourselves time to make sure everything's in order and to get back to you on it. Ideally, when you start planning the event, try and get the application in just to give yourself time, but 48 hours is what's required. And I think lastly, for anyone looking for information, all details from this webinar is in the policy, which can be found on any of our websites, ourselves, the GA, Camogie. This will also be recorded and will be posted on our LGFA YouTube channel. So you'll get all details there. If I did miss any questions along the way, as Vinny said, please feel free to contact either of us. We're happy to help with anything. And Vinny, just before we finish, the few comments from people from the webinar, lots of people saying that they've started small-sided games recently and they do work. A lot of people reflecting on your comments about memorial tournaments and people leaving with medals with the person's name or certificates does make more sense than just one person going. And lots of comments just that it's been very informative, and thanks to everyone who's thanking us.
Yeah, and I suppose as we are thanking, I'd like to thank Clodagh for monitoring the chat and answering all the queries as they came in. She was working away in the background there, so I could see the answers as they were coming in on the chat. So thanks for that, Clodagh, and thanks for your thanks for addressing some of them at the end there. Also, thanks to our partners in the Camogie Association and the GAA. You know, the one policy across the three associations is really groundbreaking, and it's going to revolutionise the way as I said at the start, our largest cohort of players are playing the game and experiencing and developing the game and their levels of fun and enjoyment and self-worth. So it's been an incredible collaboration, and we look forward to collaborating again on the yearly reviews that we're going to do. This policy is going to evolve. It's going to be reviewed every year. There are a couple of studies that are being conducted by third level institutions at the moment around the subject of Go games. So the learnings from those are going to be taken and hopefully implemented in the policy as well, to tweak it, to shape it, to reflect those outcomes. So we're going to sign off. Myself and Clodagh will stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes, just in case anybody wants to stay on and fire any more questions at us, or if you require any further information, we'd be delighted to help you. So thank you for your interest in Go Games and tuning into this webinar. Thank you for employing the Go Games programme and policy in your clubs and counties, and thank you to your county administrators for the huge work that goes into constructing a county games programme. It's going to bear huge benefit to our players and our growing numbers in years to come. So we will sign off. All of the resources are there, as Clodagh said. Go and have a look at them. And if you need any more info, please feel free to get in contact with us. So stay safe, look after each other, and enjoy Go Games over the next number of years.